You are listening to the Red Roots podcast.
I was going to say good morning, but it's not morning. It is afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We've changed the schedule up. We've changed. If you're watching, you can see we're in a different place now as well. This is our future filming studio type thing or whatever. It's nowhere near being close to being done, but we wanted to set it up different so that we could sit like kind of next to each other instead of because of Simon is not here. Obviously, if you're watching, you can see that. If you're listening, you couldn't tell yet because he doesn't talk much in the beginning. It takes a while to get going. But yes, Simon's back in the UK. He's back there with his family. He's safe travels and everything. Got back with no problems. So he's there for at least 3 months, raising money and visiting his family and stuff. Obviously, and doing stuff he needs to do. Just making contact with his church, his supporting churches and friends and all that type of stuff. And so you can be praying for him during this time. He wants to come back. I just talked to him a second ago. He said, I think he said he wants to be back in June. So, yeah, so that's what he's pushing for. Hopefully he can get his vaccination by then as well. And so, what else has changed? Oh, yeah, the girls have gone back to school, which is why we are now recording in the afternoon. And so they're doing virtual school. How's that been going?
A disaster.
Why you say that?
Well, because they have to, because I don't know, it's just everything is like listen to me and copy what I'm telling you to do, like write down what I'm telling you to do, but all the kids are talking at the same time, or like she'll say like 3 words, the teacher will say 3 words, and then they're like, teacher, can you repeat that? And she's like, mute your microphones, and nobody wants to mute their microphones. So it's chaotic. It's chaotic.
I'm not a fan.
I think the first week, Jalen was like, I saw Jalen like getting flustered, and I asked her, I said, are you okay? Do you want to just pause and I pray with you? And she was like, I just want to scream. And I was like, I get it.
Yeah, there was some, apparently one of the other kids from the church, Lucas, some of the kids are using the office. We have internet here in the office, so they've been coming and doing their online school here. But he was telling me while he was here that he accidentally went into the girls' class because someone sent him the wrong link. Mm-hmm. And so they popped up all his class popped up in the girls' class, and he said they were all making noise and stuff. And just a disaster, absolute disaster. And they already have a ton of homework when they're not in school. It's just a lot of copying and stuff that's just not necessary. Anyways, so it's been a disaster. But it is what it is, and everybody has to go through it, I guess, at this point. So they'll make it through, and I think they're going to start pushing to go back to being in-person school soon, probably soon. But they need to get the vaccinations rolling. That's the challenge. There's only been like 1,000 people vaccinated in our territory or state or whatever you want to call it. So who knows? You got to go with the flow these days. But so that's where we are with that.
But do people want to get vaccinated here?
I think a lot of people want to get vaccinated. They don't want the vaccine that was supposed to be readily available, which is not even readily available, which was the Russian vaccine, the Sputnik 6 or 4 or whatever it is, 37. I don't know. But that one, but a lot of people are obviously skeptical of it, anyways. Yeah, a lot of people are skeptical of it. Agree with it, disagree with it. A lot of people are skeptical of that one. And so there's actually sent a plane to bring the Chinese one, and I mean, I don't know, it's kind of become like, people are frustrated, but they make jokes about it, but they're frustrated about it. Like, of all the vaccines, why are we getting the 2 that people don't trust,
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, but then there's going to be people that don't trust any vaccine. And so, it's just a mess, man. It's just an absolute mess. Who knows where this is headed, and you just have to stick in there and do their online classes for a while. It's kind of nice on one level because they're already home and they can kind of flow into it, but their schoolwork and stuff, it's just frustrating having to, see them deal with that and stuff. So that is what it is for now. But, yeah. So anyway, speaking of kids, that brings me to what we want to talk about today, and raising kids on the mission field or overseas, even for that matter, because it's not. I mean, not one or the other. I just want to have a conversation with you, obviously, about it because we've raised our kids. I mean, our kids were born here, which is number one, and then up until they're about to be 10 next month. So you're getting old, but they're about to be 10, and then so yeah. So I don't know what raising kids on the mission field. What are your initial thoughts on that? Is it something that you have enjoyed, or is it something that you wish there was something different, or I don't know?
I think there's been pros and cons for me. It's just I've enjoyed some of the pros are just that I think you hear a lot about some American privilege and just some of the how spoiled maybe we our kids are in the United States and all of the conveniences and the results of having so much readily available to you, like the attitudes, ungratefulness, and I hear a lot of that from friends and my family members. But I'm grateful that the girls didn't grow up with so much. Not like we don't have anything, but not with like an excess of things, because I can see that. They're grateful. They're grateful for very little things. You can go ahead.
I think they have an excess of things. That's another issue. But I think they don't have the access that they would have had they lived in the United States. So that makes them grateful to be able to have, you know what I mean, for any little thing or whatever. I think that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you're right, because when we walk into their room, they got
Just stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Way too much stuff. But yeah. And one of the things that's been harder, I would say, not guess, is just raising them away from family, because I would really like for them. I want to say I would really like for them to be closer to family, but realistically, they wouldn't be exactly closer to family, because my family lives in Philadelphia. Part of your family lives in Columbus, and then West
Ohio.
Virginia, huh?
Columbus,
Ohio. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think I just kind of tricked myself into thinking they would be closer to family, maybe physically, but I was meaning be closer to family as far as part of their everyday life, which still wouldn't happen. So I don't know. It's a lot of give and take. It's a lot of pros and cons.
That's the tough thing about living overseas. Is like living away, I should say, just in general, is because you have this, overseas specifically, you have this idea that if you live closer, then yeah, it would be like every day we're gonna be hanging out and all this other stuff. And this is not true. You have kind of it's a fantasy more than anything. And, I think, I mean, there's some reason to that. For me, I think living closer would be, the benefit is that it doesn't cost us $5,000 to go visit grandparents and stuff. And then more tickets, because wherever we land, we got to go visit the other grandparents and the other grandparents. And so then it's another ticket, here and there and whatever. And so you're looking at, $6,000 some dollars to visit grandparents. It wouldn't take us that in a like a whole day and a half worth of travel. It wouldn't take us that. You could go up on you could go on a long weekend and you could visit for, $1,200 instead of, literally a fraction of the cost. And so, I mean, stuff like that, you can definitely always do holidays. You could do that with someone and they could come visit you easier as well.
Yeah.
And so that would be easier. But I think one of the benefits of our kids being born here is they've never lived really on a permanent base or, long-term basis. They're only 10, but like close to grandparents and stuff. So that's not like something that, I think they want it, but they want it because it's ideal. They don't want it because like they miss living close to their grandparents and stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's, I guess on that side, the benefit of them being born here is you don't miss something that you've never experienced, And so they've never experienced living close. Jolie always asks like to go and visit and wants to live there and whatever. But again, it's the idea. It's not like based on this experience. So they don't get too down about it. That's what I'm trying to say, is they don't get too down about it. Because it's not the normal for them is living far away. And so if we moved here like now, when they're 9 and 10, I think it would be really a lot rougher, because I mean, you gotta think they would come right now, they wouldn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
they would be. I mean, I think every day, um, they would be asking to go, like quote unquote back home, and saying they miss their grandparents, I miss Mima and Gigi and Granny and whatever else. And so I think that would be a big difference. But because they were born here and they've grown up here, this is like the normal to them. Is to like it stinks still, like they still don't like it, but it's normal for them to live, that far away from their grandparents. So I don't know. Yeah, being far away from family, even without kids though, that's still tough, even if you live by yourself. So, but yeah, I don't know. Raising, like, what has been the toughest thing for you as far as raising kids overseas, like far away?
Um, I I don't know that there's been a lot of challenges, honestly. I guess the one thing that just sticks out is maybe just the education system. Just sometimes wondering, like, man, are we setting them up not for failure, but they're definitely at a disadvantage because the education system is not at the level that it is in the United States. And so when I think about how prepared, quote unquote, prepared they would be for college, that it makes me wonder. But I wouldn't say that it's hard. It's not a challenge.
Yeah, it's a conversation, obviously, that we're having right now is for the future, just thinking about, because the girls want to go to the United States for college, or I'm sorry, for high school. And, we've had family members offer to, obviously, to, take them and let them live there and whatever. But man, like I don't know, like it's tough because I don't want my kids to miss out on opportunities. And I'm not talking about social life. I'm talking about legit education.
Yeah.
Like, because they have social lives here. If you can't be social here, then why do I think you could be social there? But the education opportunities, I don't want them to miss out on that because we've chosen to live here. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's been kind of a tough thing. I don't know. Something that we've been talking about going forward, and I don't even know which way it looks like. Jolie has decided in her mind that she's moving.
Yeah.
Like she's done. When she's gone, she's gone. And so, I mean, when she says 14 or something like that. But she's already decided that she's moving to the States at that age. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's a big conversation to have going forward. And, yeah, but that's a big part of it. That's that's one of the challenging things about it is like, yeah, what are we going to do with that? Because if they finish high school here, then let's say they want to go to college in the United States. That's a tough transition. It's not impossible, but it's a tough transition, And you kind of, you have to be really like kind of a top student here and self-starter and all that stuff, I think, to make that transition well. So I don't know, man. Who knows what that's going to be like, or whatever. What is your most like radical experience, I guess you could say, parenting here? Or have you had one? Or, I mean, I could think of one, but I'm not going to speak for you.
Radical experience? I mean, you can speak for me because I don't know.
And we were in the mall.
Radical. But okay, to be fair, that could happen to and that could have happened to me anywhere in the world.
I know, but
No.
I don't know if you'd have had that concern anywhere. I don't know. Yeah, so we're in the mall and you can tell the story.
Yeah. So I've had a fear, and I'm very aware that it was a very deep-rooted fear, and I don't know where it came from, that someone somewhere, doesn't matter where, was going to kidnap our children. And I mean, we could be home asleep in the bed, every door's locked, guard dogs, and I would wake up looking for the girls, and I can't find them, and I'm just total freak panic attack.
That happened to the house as well.
Looking for my child or one of my girls because I thought somebody broke in and took them because I've seen that stuff on the news.
Stop watching movies.
Movies too, but so we were at the mall one time after church with a bunch of friends eating lunch. I went to the bathroom with the girls, and one of my friends was coming out of the bathroom, and she asked my girls she asked my girls if they wanted to go with her to go back to the table where Ramon was and everyone was sitting. And my girls said no, they wanted to stay with me. And so I opened the door to the bathroom, walk in and close the door behind me, and I see Jalen and I don't see Jolie. And so I say, Jolie, looking around, I'm like, maybe she walked into a stall. wasn't there. And so, like, in a split second, I just freaked out. I opened the elevator real quick, thinking somebody snatched her and ran off with her. I ran into the men's bathroom, and I'm looking in all the stalls. And then I run upstairs because the bathroom was downstairs. So I ran upstairs to where the food court was. And I just screamed for Ramon. And he was all the way on the opposite side of the food court. So everybody kind of, I stopped.
Not kind of.
Yeah.
No one, you didn't stop. That's not.
I was gonna say I stopped everybody in their tracks. Like everyone stopped and looked at me.
Screaming across the entire food court.
I was terrified. I couldn't find my daughter.
But mind you, like we always hung out with, the youth group basically is what it was, and so it was like a group of 20 people, and our kids would always wander from person to person, and so that everybody, they're the only two little kids there. Everybody else was college students and single and all that, and so they were always around, but they weren't ever wanderers anyways. And so, but everybody looked out for the kids because we're always together. And so that's why Jolie, wandered off. She changed her mind and wandered off because they did all the time, Yeah. You always knew there was somebody. And apparently that time it just worked out in the opposite way. And you're yelling across the entire food court and Jolie's looking at you right next to me.
I couldn't see you. You were so far away. I just yelled for you.
You couldn't see me.
I couldn't see you, and you stood up because you were sitting at a table.
No, I just looked and I was just pointed down like she's right here because I heard someone yelling, and I was like, we kept doing what we're doing because you just think somebody, I don't know, you're not thinking anything about it, somebody just being silly or whatever. And then I was like, yo, I think somebody, it just registered, somebody's yelling my name, and I turned around what is this person yelling? This crazy person. And I turned around and looked at and I was I'm looking because it's a crowd of people. And I see it's you, and you yell, I can't find Jolie. Literally, there's probably 1,500, 2,000 people up there, and everyone is looking at you. And you're yelling in English, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with this lady, because you're just yelling in the middle of everything. They have no idea who you're talking to. And I looked, and everybody's looking, and our friends are looking because they don't understand what you're yelling about either. And I'm sitting there, and Jolie's I remember Jolie standing on the back of it was that bench thing, and she's standing on the back, looking over, she's trying to figure out what's going on too. And she's looking at you, and I'm looking, and when I finally figured out what you were saying, I pointed, I was she's right here. And you were oh, and then you ran off the other way or whatever. I guess you're embarrassed. I don't know.
Now I was crying because I was so scared.
You cried after we found her?
The whole time, but yeah, I ran off. Yeah, I had to calm down because I was still so worked up.
I think Georgette went down there to check on you or something.
Yeah, I think it was Georgette.
Yeah, that was. And then there was another time we were at home too, and you, it was 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and you ran in the room yelling, saying you can't find Jalen. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. It happened a couple times.
Our house is upstairs. It's we had a 2-story home at the time. If you've come to Bolivia to visit us, you probably visited us in that house. I think we had the most visitors in that house than we had in the other place. But it was a 2-story house. And it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. So the girls had just gone to bed not too much earlier. And Jalen comes running. I can't find Jalen. I can't find. She's yelling. And I'm what in the world is going on? And so I hop up. And I walk out the room. You're I can't find her anywhere. And I'm I'm not really concerned because, she's got to be somewhere. Kids don't disappear. And you thought that someone climbed our wall, broke into our house, snuck upstairs, snuck past our bedroom, snuck and left Jolie, and took Jalen, snuck back out, scaled the wall, and got out. That's what you thought, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Jalen was laying on the floor right next to our door. She was just laying there. And I picked her, I was dude, she's right here. So those were, you don't think those experiences were connected to living overseas and just being in a place that's foreign, or you feel if we lived in Charleston you would have been doing that?
I don't know if it was Charleston. I think if we were in the Dominican Republic still.
Right, but that's overseas.
Well, yeah, maybe it does. Yeah. Okay. So for people listening who may not know, we used to work at an orphanage, and you hear there were cases of, specifically a case where a child was found at the border of Bolivia going into, I can't remember which country it was. She was taken and was going to be sold for her organs. And so that is a very real story. We cared for and took care of this child in the orphanage. And so it was not just something I heard from someone that I heard that read it in a paper or whose cousin told her about it. You know, it was actually a case that we knew that was very close and actually here in Bolivia. And then in the Dominican Republic, we worked with girls who were sex trafficked. And
yeah, but our kids, this happened before that. The one with the Jalen by the door happened before we even lived there.
I know, but in the case with when I was afraid because Jalen was in the she was in a hammock, I couldn't find her. This was
another time.
This was here in the house.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I didn't even know about this one.
Yeah, because you found her. You said she's in the hammock.
When was this? I don't remember.
When we first got here.
So what did you say?
I said, oh.
No, I mean, what was the context for?
Well, my point is that I think it all kind of affects me. I mean, yeah, the one with the girl in the orphanage was before the girls were born. And then also when we worked in the Dominican Republic, I think it was just layers to the reality of how this does happen on a daily basis.
But I don't think it happens like people busting into the house, climbing the fence, and taking kids from there. Like, it's not. It's like kids who are out wandering around and all this other stuff. Or sometimes the kids are sold too. I think that's what unfortunately the case in the orphanage a lot of times was that. It's like their parents would sell them to somebody for a few bucks, and like then they would take them to traffic them. Like where she was being crossed into, I think it was Argentina or something like that. That was like a place they used to sell kids for like $7 there, like 50 Bs. They used to sell them and they would traffic them across the board and stuff. It was like a very taboo market thing that happened. Somebody wrote an article about it some years ago, but yeah. It wasn't typically people like, you know, doing all that like Mission Impossible stuff to like climb up and take a kid.
Yeah, but no, I remember writing a friend, Pastor Janice, who from where are they from? North. Oh, I forgot the name of the church right now. Anyway, writing her and asking her to pray for me because I couldn't handle living like this. Like every single. Not every minute, but
I couldn't handle living like that either.
I know you couldn't. I'm sorry, but it was just terrified. I couldn't let the girls play outside because I'm afraid someone's gonna.
Well, you could let them play outside.
Drive by on a motorcycle and snatch them up, you know, and so. But then you have like our neighbor Marcia, from church.
We have a neighbor named Marcia.
I mean Marcia from church.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
okay.
She's always next door. Who's like teaching our girls self-defense and how to like.
She's so crazy.
She taught them this little knot move that if somebody ever tries to take you, just drop you to the ground and like do something with your legs and wrap it around their arms and.
She probably saw it on YouTube.
And so like we have people also. I guess I don't know if it's a motherly thing or what, but.
No, I mean, kids get taken, and that is a reality. Really, a reality everywhere. But and I think for everybody, I think they think that wherever they live is the worst place because they've heard the kids gotten taken, but get taken. But that's that's something that happens everywhere. So I mean, it is good to know different little protocols and stuff like that, and have limits of where the kids can go, because it does happen a lot. I mean, it's just unfortunately it's a thing, But our kids don't wonder really outside of where somebody that we know can see them all the time. They're always whether our neighbors or there's always someone. They're always in someone's eyesight, and so it's like you kind of. But I mean, stuff can still happen. But equally, I mean, man, like you can't put handcuffs on your kid and let them.
Yeah, I think that was hard too. Trying to explain to the girls, trying to teach them safety without putting my fear on them, that was really hard. That was a hard balance for me because I wanted them to understand that this is a real danger, but I didn't want them to fear going outside or going to school, because there was there were messages going around to all of the schools: be careful because someone's selling backpacks out of a car and luring your children to their car and they're taking them. Mm-hmm. Because it happened to like one school close to the girls' school. And so when you hear that, you automatically want to don't go talking to strangers. Somebody's going to take you, like try to make them afraid, scare them into obeying you. But it was hard. I'm thankful that I haven't done that. To my knowledge, they don't seem kind of traumatized.
No,
or afraid.
I think they're conscious, but they're not overly traumatized. Jolie was a little bit more when she was younger, but now she's a little more laid back. She's very conscious and aware, which is what you want them to be. You want them to be aware and just conscious of the fact that stuff can happen, but
Yeah.
equally, not to be terrified to be able to move or walk or whatever, And so, I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely a balance there. You don't want them to be clueless and wandering around, and but equally you want them to. Man, that kid is having a tough time.
Yeah.
Lo están matando, no? But you don't want them to be clueless and wander around like nothing can ever happen, but equally you don't want them to be terrified to walk across the street.
Yeah.
Because I think. Well, with where we live, man, kids just play outside. Like, and when I grew up, kids played outside too. I understand that it's a different world than what I grew up in. But equally, man, like I just can't. I don't want to raise kids in the way to where, like, what am I living here for if I'm so afraid of the people that everybody's gonna kill and eat my kid, or I just need to go home at that point. This is my opinion. But equally, not being a fool and just letting your kid go anywhere and do anything with anybody and whatever. That's not wise either. But that's not wise in the States either. So it's just like, just parenting and that from that perspective, I guess, more than anything else, and just trying to find that balance of like, okay, because I don't know, like it's just weird, just trying to figure out what is that, what is the about, and as they grow older and stuff like that too, like obviously, things change and stuff they want to do and their ability to go now they go to the store by themselves and buy stuff for lunch or milk or chicken or a soda or whatever. It is we need. And so, but when they were younger, I don't think they were capable of doing that because they weren't as conscious of just, people and strangers and stuff walking around. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'm aware the way that we live is way different than the way we would live if we were in the States. And so that comes into play there as far as them being like, quote unquote, free or to roam around or whatever. But, they roam around a pretty good bit in the neighborhood now. But again, it's still within like, because everything we have, like, and for people that don't understand, like, everything that we do is close. So, like, we have our house. Across the street is the clinic where my office is, where we are right now. And then where the church is in the same clinic as well. So, a lot of the people from downstairs in the clinic, or some of the people go to the church upstairs, but we're connected to all the people in the clinic. Like, we know them all. Like, we go, when they have their end-of-the-year dinners, we always go and, different stuff like that. So, we have relationships. So, they all of them know the girls. And then, Miguel, who is Rudy's dad, lives next door to us, and behind him, Carlos, who and Carlo go to our church, and we're really close with them. They live there, and across the street is a store. Next to them is Efrain. Like, so we know all those people right here, and then even across the street from the hospital on the other side is Anna, and like so so we just have we know our neighbors and stuff, and I think that's helpful. Is people know kind of. They're just so aware, having people aware of, and they see the girls and they'll say something to them or whatever. I think if Anna saw the girls over there, like on the other side of the fundación of the clinic, she would ask like, "Oh, where you going? What are you doing over here?" And then 2 houses down, you got Mariscal and them. So you just have people that would be familiar people who are familiar with your kids and know kind of who they should be with or even where they should be to an extent. And so I think that's helpful. And I don't know. I trust all those people I named as far as like for the protection of my kids. I do. I don't trust them like I trust myself, but I don't trust anybody to protect my kids like I trust me. But equally, I definitely do trust them. On that side of it, even though it is a different upbringing for the girls, I like, and like I've tried to push them to like embrace the upbringing that they have because the opportunities that they have here this is going to be a memorable childhood for them compared to if they do move to the States when they're 18, 19, whatever, and they go to college or whatever they do. If they go to the States, their upbringing is going to be way different than what a lot of their friends, their upbringing will be. And there's a lot more memories of like, and I guess to them it'll be old school memories or whatever, but to me it's like good community fun memories, playing outside, catching bugs and carrying chickens around and, ducks and just all types of different adventures and stuff like that. And stuff, a lot of the stuff that I don't look at it as my kids are missing out on life in the States. I really don't. I think they're missing out on like the opportunity to maybe have a PlayStation 5 or you know, a Nintendo Switch, and you know, stuff like that, having a TV in the room, or I don't know, whatever it is
Go
that.
to the movies. Like
Huh?
to me, like I'm just adding to your list. Like maybe go to the movies, or
Yeah,
roller skating, bowling.
yeah, you're having that type of stuff, and like I mean, those are cool opportunities. But equally, I think there's stuff here that they are able to do that they would not be able to do there. And riding on motorcycles is one. You know, they're never gonna ride a motorcycle if they live in the States. And if they do, it's gonna be one time with somebody who rides them around the parking lot or something. But you know, here they move around on motorcycles. It's a very normal thing for them. And when they're older, they're gonna learn how to ride motorcycles. So like that, you know, it's just a very normal thing for here. And so I cherish those experiences for them growing up and to kind of build their life on that. I think it's a good thing to have. And like that's why I'm like so about like we have pets. And like I mean obviously I don't know how many we have. We have 3 dogs now. That was somehow. We had 2, but then one got abandoned and just never left basically. Long and the short of it. And then we have they have gerbils and we have a duck, and you know we had 2 ducks. One disappeared. There's a goat. There's chickens all over the place. And but you know, but I'm super gung ho about like letting them have pets, especially like ducks and stuff like that are outside, because why not? Like it's part of the experience. It's something that we wouldn't have if we lived in the States. We wouldn't have ducks just flooding around, like, you know, you wouldn't have the space for it, and they're gonna go in your neighbor's yard. It's a different thing, and the way people see it is different too. You're not gonna have a goat in the States, you know. They're not gonna have that type of stuff. So from that perspective, I like life for them here. I like in that way. I like the experience. I just want to. I guess I've tried to personally embrace the experiences they can have here, like as opposed to sitting here and thinking about what experiences they're missing out on.
Yeah.
You know, and so just basically stewarding, I guess, is stewarding the stuff that they have, and then so they have so much fun, man, as kids here, and in part it does remind me of my childhood a little bit because we were allowed to like wander around and like the neighborhood and stuff. We were allowed to, you know, we were looking for frogs all the time and you know stuff like that just as kids and with the neighborhood kids and whatever. We're just always doing stuff like that. And when I see them doing that, I remember how much joy that brought me as a kid just to have that freedom to just explore and do kid stuff and walk around, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was, you know, really fun. And even they even take it a step further with all the animals and stuff they have. I mean, they have stuff that I probably would have asked for as a kid and probably would have gotten rejected with reason, right, when I was a kid. Because again, you don't have those type of animals there, at least where I grew up. But equally, I think, I don't know, I think it's been a great experience for them to have and a great way for them to grow up. It's with that, I don't want to say freedom, because freedom looks different depending on who's talking about it. But with that ability to be able to have access to these animals and pets and, you know, stuff like that and be able to enjoy it and I don't know, just kind of live life like that and still kind of live like, even though we don't live in a village, where we live kind of feels like a bigger village. And so, like, to have kind of the good experiences of a village life of, yeah, like I said, knowing all your neighbors and stuff and wandering around and, you know, having all these people involved in your life and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's a good experience, and especially for kids who, you know, are supposedly growing up third cultured. I don't even know how third culture. I mean, they definitely are third culture, but I don't think they would realize that. And I don't know that they'll ever feel, because in their minds, they're Bolivian, you know. I mean, I think they would say what they are literally is I'm a Bolivian American, or I'm, you know, Puerto Rican, you know, whatever their ethnic identity is. But I think they identify with, I mean, this is what they know, and this is where they live, and this is the way they talk, their accents, everything are from here, you know. Yeah. So I really like that. I actually like that for my kids, just because it's a different way to grow up. It's not a bad way to grow up. I think it's different than the average kid's experience. And when they get older, I think it's like, oh, how cool was it that they were able to do this? And they have so many life experiences with the place that has limited access, you know. Yeah. But it's limited access to what, you know, and that's the thing, is they won't have access to the same thing all the other kids have had. Like, because their friends, when they get older, are going to be like, you remember PlayStation 5? They're not going to remember that. They don't even know what it is. Like, and so, thank God. But equally, like, their memories and experiences are going to, I don't know, there's a lot more. Again, dealing with animals and going on nature walks with Andrea and getting, like, pretty much lost out in the middle of nowhere, and me and Rudy going to looking for them. You know, stuff like that. Those are great stories to tell. Or going out at night and trying to spot the Brazilian porcupines in the back tree, or coming face to face in the window with a giant anteater in your window. Like, those are really cool experiences, which I'm fully aware that as the years go by, they're gonna grow up like, oh yeah, that's normal. But then again, when you're an adult, they're gonna, and they hear the other friends, like, it'll be a cool experience again for them, like it was the first time,
Yeah.
And so I really like that, just horses wandering around, which I don't like that, but equally I cherish that experience for them to be able to live in a place where this happens and stuff. And there's just always something happening. We're always catching some type of animal. And Jolie, like, there's some bird got in the rabbit cage yesterday, and Jolie just gets in and bare hands the thing. Like, I was gonna tell her to put a glove on, and like by the time I even got outside, she already had it in her hand. I have no idea how she caught a wild bird with her hands, but she did, and she's not afraid. Like, I love that she's not afraid. I think if we grew up in the States, I don't know how you know what I mean, that she would have experienced animals enough to not be afraid of them, and to not be afraid of them. But she's all about, like, her only question now is like, is it poisonous? Does it bite? And if I say no, like, oh, she's grabbing it. Mm-hmm. Like, and like, I mean, she knows birds aren't poisonous and don't bite in that sense, I mean, they do, but not like that, So she's had bird in her hand. Like, that's the end of the story,
I know we saw a tarantula in the room the other day, and I started recording it. And I said, do you want me to call Daddy to come and kill it? And Jolie just takes her flip-flop off and smashes it.
We've been working on that for years. They usually come and call me, so I'm proud. I was very proud when I saw that she did that. Stuff like that, man. I just don't think they would have that had we grown up. Again, I know they're missing out on certain things that other people value in the States, but I think these are experiences that they're getting here that they would have never got. Also, I mean, the elephant in the room is they're bilingual. I mean, they're very bilingual at this point. Matter of fact, with Jolie at least, I would say her Spanish is probably better than her English.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean she doesn't speak English, but she struggles like with the sentence structures and stuff like that, and like understanding the rules of English now. Or she says it in Spanish. You could tell she's saying it. She says it in English the way that you would say it in Spanish. So she, instead of White House, she would say that house white. And because I don't know how when this happened, but it seems like she's translating it in her head. Yeah. She's like, have you ever seen that house white? I'm like, what'd you say? And now she's kind of getting. She's like, oh, the White House or whatever. But she said there's a lot of things like that. But bilingual, that's a tool automatically they have in their pocket. And again, just the life experiences of just being able to run around and just be free and chase animals and warm climate all the time. And so having way more time outside than they would have if we lived in, anywhere north of Georgia, pretty much in the United States, So just cherishing those things or whatever. That's the way I've approached it, and I've preferred to focus on those things from that perspective. Is what are the things that they can do, instead of like, oh man, because I used to think like that. I wish my kids could do this. I wish my kids could do that. And I'll see my friends' kids being able to do stuff. Wish they could do this. Then I'm like, man, like my kids held a parrot today. Like, like my kids, like, the list goes on and on about different stuff that they're able to do. Or they swam with piranhas, like, today, like, and it wasn't a one-time experience. That's what we do when we go swimming. Because there's piranhas in there. It's not really as dangerous as it sounds, but to people that don't know, it's very dangerous and very adventurous and whatever. And so that was just very cool. They've seen piranhas. They've eaten piranha, I believe, like, because I have, so I imagine they have. And like, there's so many different experiences, man, that they've been able to have instead of experiences that are unique to living here. I'll just say it that way. And then because there's experiences that are unique to living in the U.S. and there are experiences that are unique to here. And so I feel like, I just have wanted to take advantage of the experiences they have that are unique to here and just like full on take advantage of them. And so, again, they're older. Yeah, we used to ride on a motorcycle. Like, it's not, that's a normal thing. And so it's not normal in the States, but it's normal for here. So let's embrace it and like go on, whatever with it. And so I don't know. From that, I think that's been my personal, not even talking to you about that, but just my personal mentality and approach to parenting here is just embracing it, embracing what the culture does to an extent, right? If my kid's safety and stuff, that's a different conversation. But just the adventurous part of it and being able to do stuff that you're not able to do in the States or whatever. So that's been I don't know. I think that's been good. That's been my perspective and what I like about it. What I've liked about raising them here in Trinidad specifically, even more so than all of Bolivia, but in Trinidad specifically, that's been my experience here. So
Yeah, I remember one time they were invited to eat lunch at a neighbor's house, and when they came home after lunch, I asked them what did they eat, and Jalen said, "Oh, something. It looked like diarrhea." And I just thought back to me as a kid, like if someone gave me something to eat that looked like diarrhea, I wasn't going to eat it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Did you eat it?" "Yeah, it was good." I was
Yeah.
like, that I think that is an experience. I think that is just something that I don't know if maybe we could have taught them that back in the States, but we also wouldn't have never served them something like that, looking like that in the States. But just them never turning their nose up at things, the way that people do things here, the cultures, their foods, you know, their form of dress. You know, sometimes you walk around and people, I'm not saying everyone, but for the most part, if everyone's just like, it's hot here, and so everyone's just in their comfortable attire, they're not always going to match, you know. They'll have like different patterns on, or just what they have on doesn't make sense, but they're outside in it. You know, the girls aren't like, what in the world does she have on? You know, it's just.
But I mean, for them, it's their life. It's normal, you know, to have stuff like that. They know we don't have stuff like that for dinner, but they equally understand that, like, I mean, they're conscious about it. You know, they know, like, this is what people eat for dinner. And so that again, because they grew up here, I think it never registers to them like, oh, I'm not going to eat this. Mm-hmm. Like everybody else is eating it, so they eat it. Like it's not about liking or not liking. It's about eating. And so they'll eat. And I really appreciate that about them. Yeah. Is they, you know, the stories that our neighbors come to us with, they'll eat anything instead of, oh, they don't eat anything. You know what I mean? And I don't think anyone's going to be offended by a 9-year-old girl. But equally, I don't know. You can tell people are impacted by that, by them embracing whatever it is that they have in their house, and so it makes them more welcome in places because they just fit right in. You know, because I think people at first are delicate with them because they think that they're going to be offended or like kind of shy about, especially with food, about eating stuff or doing certain stuff. But they don't care. They just jump right in and do whatever everybody else is doing, which is great. They're very adaptable and whatever. So they've been really good from that sense. Both of them really have been really. In the beginning when they were younger, not so much. Jalen was actually way more the adventurer than Jolie was. Jolie was very clingy and was not about going anywhere new or trying anything new or anything like that. But they've changed quite a bit now. Jolie is quite the adventurer now. Jalen is too, but Jalen's more like the physical adventure. She wants to climb on trees and stuff like that. Jolie wants to catch animals, pick them up, and like, they're both kind of gung ho about trying new foods. They're both pretty hot on that. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess they both are now, just in different ways. They're both pretty adventurous and stuff. I appreciate that about them because, again, that keeps that door open for adventures, that they're adventurous in that sense. Obviously, it keeps the door open for them to experience, just constantly have new experiences and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
So if say there are like some people, a family getting ready to come, not here, just go on the mission field with children, like, is there a way you think that they could help prepare their children for the transition, or like what is like some advice that you might have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's in the way you raise your kids too. And I mean, again, we raised our kids here, so it was a little bit of a cheat code, but I think it reveals to you how your kids adapt to different, like it's hard. I'm not saying it's like a straight across the line, but like how your kids are able to adapt to different people, to diversity. Let's say it that way. And not just in skin color, which definitely in skin color, but not just in that, and just cultures and stuff like that. It's kind of a reflection on how you've raised them, you know? And so I think, I mean, shoot, anywhere, like, again, if I could go back and we had our kids in the States, I mean, I wouldn't want to, but if we did that and I took anything for myself now and could tell myself, you know what I mean? Tell myself, like, from this experience to that, I would say, like, man, raise your kid with as many experiences as possible. But I would say that to anybody. Like, diversify your kids, like, make them try different foods. And I don't mean just eat your broccoli. Like, I mean, like, Indian food, like, African food, and, like, you know, like, just different plates from Kenya and whatever, Nigeria, whatever the case may be, Indian food. I think I said that already, but whatever, like Mexican food. Everybody eats quote unquote Mexican, but it's really like American food, but with the Mexican twist. But like, yeah, just exposing them to different stuff, different cultures, different experiences, man. Because like you can see how much it plays into their development, And so obviously, even more for a missionary or a person who's moving overseas, and is like I think exposing your kids to different stuff, and like letting them get a full experience, and like teaching them to be adaptable. Not unstable, but adaptable. There's a fine line between those two, but teaching them to be adaptable and to accept and look for the best in every situation. But a lot of times your kids pick up on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so if you're kind of turning your nose up about everything, then they're going to obviously do what you do, And so I guess the information, the advice goes back to, to the adult parent: embrace life, embrace, different things, look for the good things to embrace wherever you are. If you live in a bad neighborhood, like there's good things in a bad neighborhood, you just don't see them. If you live in a good neighborhood, enjoy the good things in a good neighborhood. And then I think, but if you embrace things, I think you start to kind of redefine what a bad neighborhood and a good neighborhood is, because there's no such thing as all bad and there's no such thing as all good.
Yeah.
It's just different. They're very different and stuff. And so I don't know, just embracing life, man, and modeling that to your kids, to embrace stuff, try new stuff, and then to embrace the culture wherever they are as well. I think if I brought my kids here at 10, it would be a lot harder than it has been for us. But equally, I would push them to try stuff, embrace stuff, do it. Hop on the back of the motorcycle with Rudy. Hop on the back, like cling on. If do whatever you got to do. Hang on tight, like a little tick on his back. Like do whatever, but like experience it. Like kind of challenge yourself, overcoming like your different little fears and stuff like that. Again, being safe and whatever, but challenge yourself. And I don't know. That's what I would say. It's like. And I mean, ultimately, trust God, too. It's like, don't be dumb, but trust God that if God sent you there, like he didn't send you there for like you to be there 2 days and your kid to die falling off a cliff or whatever. So, I mean, obviously, be a parent, but like there's no more danger here than there is in the United States. Yeah. It's just the illusion of it, of what it looks like and things like that. And it's a third world country, so you automatically are kind of pre-programmed to think that it's more dangerous here. But just to embrace life, man, just to, live life in the way that you live it, I think that's what I would do. I don't think there's one specific thing you can do to help your kids, like, get ready for something like this. But equally, like, just embrace it and push them to embrace it. Because I would imagine if you moved somewhere with a 10-year-old kid, that they would be hesitant to embrace stuff. But like, kind of push them to, try new stuff. Send them to school. That's a huge step. Send them to some type of school, public, private, whatever, but send them to a school with kids that speak the native language and, eat native foods and live kind of the native way of living, because that, like, you have a weird way of adapting when you are immersed in the culture. Yeah. Like that, it's like a survival instinct almost, I think. And I think once that kicks in, like, your kid is good. Like, your kid's going to pass you up, even if you're all moving there at the same time. If you send your kid to a school and they start making friends from it, they're going to pass you up in language learning. They're going to pass you up in cultural experiences. They're going to pass you up in every area because kids are way more adaptable. So if you can adapt, then kids can adapt, and honestly, even if you can adapt, kids can still adapt and stuff. But you got to, let them do that. Let them be able to adapt and do the stuff that they're capable of doing,
Yeah, I think a lot of missionaries, like, our tendency is to say, okay, the education system here is not good, so I'm going to homeschool. Mm-hmm. But then you rob them of so many cultural experiences, so many life experiences.
That's a tough choice to make.
Yeah, it is.
Because, I don't know, for us, like, our kids did kindergarten homeschool. And, like, obviously, I mean, on the education side, I would rather them homeschool now. But on the social side and development, like, they learned Spanish at school. Mm-hmm. They went to school and didn't have a choice. When they first went, do you remember they didn't speak Spanish?
Yeah.
When they first started going to school. Even though they were born here, we left in the key years, we didn't live here. The key years of their life for language development and stuff like that, they didn't live here. And so moving back, it was like they didn't know anything. And so it's like, they went to school, they started speaking Spanish. And I mean, just didn't have a choice. Didn't even think about it anymore. It was just like something that you do. And so they had to figure it out. And it was tough because, Jolie specifically would come home in tears and stuff, and she would cry at school and whatever. It was a tough thing, but equally, like, we made her push through it. It's not going to kill her. It's going to make her better, and it did. It made her better, and it even changed her personality for the better, I would say.
Yeah, she is very different.
Yeah, she's way less clingy. She's way more open. She will speak to anybody now. Before, she was kind of introvert and like wouldn't speak much and whatever, and all that. Again, I am pro homeschool, like, so I don't want people to think like, but again, living under these certain circumstances and stuff where the culture is where you live in a different culture and where you don't have any connection to the culture, and you want your kids to get along well, like, man, get along well in the culture. Like, I think sending them to school for a couple of years at least, and then maybe go back after they have some different neighborhood friends and stuff like that. But I think sending them to school is a great thing to do, especially if they're younger. If they're in high school and stuff, I don't know. That's a different thing. But like if they're younger kids, I mean, send them to school for a few years and let them, get that experience and start speaking the language and kind of get comfortable. And then, it is what it is. And so I don't know. That would be my thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a tough thing. The more I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm just like, I don't know. I can't even put my finger on all the like complications, the complexities, I should say, of the differences. And I've never raised a kid in the States, though, to be fair, so I don't know. I have an idea of what it's like. I mean, obviously I was raised in the States, so I have an idea of that, but it's different being raised than raising a kid, And so, but, my experience is limited to this, so take it with a grain of salt. But I don't know. I think overall it's a beautiful experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Mm-hmm. The experience they have. I mean, again, the only thing I would change, if I could change anything, is just being closer to family somehow, or being able to visit more frequently, or something like that. I don't know what the case would be, but I mean, you can't have everything, so it's just what it is. It's one of the things that they can't have or we can't have or whatever. So I don't know, but it's been good. It's been a fun ride, and I mean, my kids, I say they love it here, but that's what they know. And so just like any kid loves where they are, mm-hmm. Kids typically aren't 10 saying, I want to move to, place X. So they love it here. They fully embrace the culture. They're part of the culture. Culture's part of them. And I like that, because, again, this is where they live. And so I don't want them to ever feel out of place. And I don't know that they do. I'm sure there's going to be moments if they ever move back to the States where they'll feel out of place. But that's part of life. But up until now, I don't think over the past 3-4 years, they haven't felt out of place, I don't think.
No.
I think they feel at home, and so I like that about them.
The only time I've ever seen them physically look out of place or maybe uncomfortable is when during school, whenever someone doesn't know how to pronounce their name and just insists that I'm going to keep saying your name incorrectly. Yeah. It's just like, Mom, why did you give me this name?
Yeah. Which there's other kids with some tough names as well. But, I mean, they're older now, so I told them you can politely correct people and say, hey, that's not my name. My name is this. And so, it is what it is. And if they say it again, then say it again. I'm sorry, my name is not this. My name is this. And the person will get it. They'll pick up really quick that, you don't want to be called something outside of your name, just like everybody else in the world doesn't. So let me get your name right, Yeah. And so it is what it is. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit of our experience, I guess. I don't know how helpful that is to anybody, but definitely, if anything else, worth hearing our experiences. And our perspective and the way that we view life and then try to embrace it here, I think, because I think, I don't know, life, everywhere you live, I think has a beautiful part to it, and this is no exemption. Like life is beautiful here. It's a beautiful upbringing for the kids. It's a great way to raise kids, to be able to like just kind of everything shotgun, running around doing this, that, hopping, there's a lot of adventure involved, and so. I like it. I have no regrets at all, and I won't have regrets going forward. Even if something bad were to happen, God forbid, I still wouldn't have regrets about, it's because, again, stuff can happen anywhere. So, I don't know. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets either. I'm overall just very, very grateful because I like the life that we've given them. I feel like we are all blessed to be able to live here, do life here, live in community here, like everything that I feel that we should be receiving from a biblical perspective, we're getting from a family perspective, we're getting, and so I don't know, I am content. I'm happy with the way that we have been able to raise them and the experiences that we've been able to give them, you know, and also to teach them that that happiness isn't tied into material things, you know. It's and just emphasize too how important relationships are, because if they can learn that at a young age, they'll never go through life feeling lonely or isolated or feeling different, you know. So, no, I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Is one thing they've learned here is life is built on relationships, because their life here does revolve around that. And so I think it's a great building block for life, you know, going forward for anybody. So I'm, you know, grateful that they're learning that, and that's what's being modeled for them, and their life is really geared that direction of life is being built on relationships. So I think, you know, that gives you a heads up, or it gives you a head start, or what, I don't know, whatever the word is, a leg up. We see all these things that don't make sense. Leg up.
I was going to say foot up, but
yeah, it gives you a leg up and going forward in the future. And so, yeah, I don't know, I think it's good. But yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, thank you for listening to us ramble on about parenthood. Sorry we haven't been uploading in a while, but hopefully we'll get back into a rhythm now. Everything is kind of getting into a new rhythm with girls going to school and stuff like that. Yeah, no, thank you for listening. I don't have much more to say. You have nothing, right? You said that?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate your love and your support. And we'll see you next week. Provecho.